Hey guys, welcome to the first lesson of my ACT prep course. Remember, my name's MrCaproni, and I hope you're here to pick up some tips and tricks to raise your ACT scores. Now, starting off today, we're going to be looking at whole numbers, which is part of the pre-algebra category of the ACT test. Now, if you want to see all of the different categories on the ACT math portion, you can check out one of my other videos where I go ahead and lay out the entire test. But remember, we're going to only cover bits and pieces at a time as we're going through, because this course is going to last all semester. So I want to make sure I give you guys a proper amount each time instead of just filling your entire head all at once, which is proven to not work. So who's got two thumbs and is super excited about starting this course? This guy. Let's get rolling. All right, so as I mentioned, this is the pre-algebra section of the ACT math content. Now, in this section, we have a lot of bullet points you can see here. We got this with whole numbers, fractions, decimals, integers. This is kind of the first thing we're going to be hitting up. And then it's going to move on to the positive integers, the power of squares, rationals, factors, absolute values, counting problems, data interpretation, mean, median, mode. But all of that is not in this video. Today in this video, we are only going to be looking at this first bit, whole numbers, all right? Now, once we get through all of this content, we'll be able to say that we have covered 23% of the possible questions on the ACT math portion. Now, it's going to take us quite a bit of videos to get through all of this, but at the same time, remember, this is a whole semester's worth of videos. So when you're looking through here, don't freak out, because all of this is going to be covered in a fourth of a semester. So what, 4 or 5 weeks we're looking at? Hardly anything to be getting upset about. So let's go ahead and dive right into the content. First off, we got some vocab that we got to look at, all right? So when we're looking at all the different types of numbers, here they all are, all right? I know there's a lot of numbers. There's so many numbers. So many numbers. I know, but we're going to break this down, and I think that this picture right here is really going to help us see all the different levels of numbers as we go through. So this is the real number system. All of the possible numbers we're thinking of are referred to as real numbers. Now, there is such thing as an imaginary number, but that is way, way down the line. Right now, we are looking at all the real numbers. Now, real numbers include everything. That's negatives, positives, square roots, all the fractions, repeated decimals that go on and on and on. Things like that are also referred to as irrational numbers, as you can see right here in the little cloud. But all of those count as real numbers. Now, what if I'm like, whoa, 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 I need us to tone it in a bit, all right? And we start making rules on the numbers. So I'm like, I don't want all the real numbers. I just want the ones that, like, I can think of concrete. Like, I don't want them to have repeated decimals that go off forever, unless it's like something I can represent with an easy fraction. Now we're jumping into rational numbers. So once I start limiting this, like, I don't want it to be just some random list of decimals forever that I can't do a fraction of, and I'm overwhelmed and I'm confused. Now we're looking at rational numbers. It's a much more rational way of thinking. Close the floodgates even more, I can jump into our next one, which is our integers. All right. Now, what are integers? They are no decimals. All right. And any fraction that doesn't make a whole number gets eliminated as well. Now, with integers, we still have negative numbers. All right. And that's what's going to make them a lot different than whole numbers. So you can see here the list of numbers are kind of dwindling. They still go on to infinity because they're still going up forever or down forever, but we don't have all the in-betweens anymore. Like all of, if I'm looking down here at this number line, I got from 1 to 2, but all of this in-between is starting to get cut out once we're looking at the integers. We don't have an infinite number of numbers between every numbers. It's a little overwhelming. So the next step after integers is where we are landing today. Whole numbers. Now, whole numbers include all numbers that don't have decimals or fractions that can't be represented by just one whole number, all right, from 0 up to infinity. So it still goes on forever, but we are dropping off all the negatives, okay? Now, we can go one step further and drop 0 off, and that's where you get the natural numbers as well, but we're not going to go there, and it's really just one number of a difference, so let's just go ahead and stick in our whole numbers. So When we're looking at whole numbers, again, we're cutting off anything down here because we're not including negatives. That's integers, and we will talk more about that later down the road. But for right now, we're just looking at whole numbers, which is here forward. We eliminate everything in between. I only care about these perfect, nice numbers. So that is what's going to make our content today so easy, because we are starting at a very simplistic form of numbers to begin with. So obviously the work that goes along with this is going to be a lot easier to comprehend. Let's look at the type of questions that the ACT will ask about whole numbers. As you can see here, I have the old symbols of less than, greater than, and all of those. That's because the first type of question that deal with whole numbers is which number is bigger than the other one. I know this seems super easy, but in the moment, students will always forget which one's less than, which one's greater than. I forget, oh no. Don't freak out and use the steady, old, true method of the alligator. Remember, the alligator always eats the larger number. So if I say that it's going to be this guy, the alligator's eating the bigger number on the left-hand side. Remember, we always read from left to right. So if I'm going to put in the greater than symbol, I know it's greater than because it means that this number is larger or is greater than this number. All right, so we always read left to right. Don't switch that up. And remember, the alligator always eats the larger number. So if it's 23,505, it's going to eat that number on the left. If it's 4,321, that number's smaller. It doesn't want it, so it's going to turn around, and it's going to eat the number on the other side, all right? Don't make it harder than it is. Don't stumble. Get your easy points. Here's some practice problems to do with this type of question. Whenever you're in doubt, if you really are struggling with these, go ahead and line them up. Put the last digit before the decimal place on top of each other and just stack them from there. So like in this case, it would be 566. Up here, you would have the 33,234. And then just go left to right. And the first one that has the bigger number, that's the one you take. So in this case, 33 is larger than 21, so it's going to be greater than. In this case, there is no number here, so we're just going to put a 0, which means that we're going to say 566 is less than 1022. Down here, we have 1024, 1042, so 24 is less than 42. And for the last one, they look to be the same number on both sides, so we're going to go ahead and just put in our equal sign. So there you have it, some quick, easy questions. Let's move on to our next topic of place value. Now, here's the deal with place value. You need to know how to properly say numbers. There's two reasons for this. It could ask you, hey, what is one of these place values? For example, it may say, what's the place value of a 6? That just means like, where is it located on our little chart that we'll see here in a second. But also when it talks about rounding, you'll need to know this as well. So if it says round to the nearest 10,000s, or round to the nearest 100, or round to the nearest, I don't know, 10 million, 10 billion, whatever, you need to know where that place is so you can properly round. So if you do not know this already, here's a great chart for you to use these. Here's the names for each one of them. If you don't have this down pat by now, go ahead and pause the video here, write it down, get all of that stuff so you can properly say the name of these. So in this case, if you notice, we're looking at 85 for the millions, all right, so starting at that 10 millions place. Then we have 26 in the thousands category, and we have 139 in the ones category. Now, notice how I'm saying it in groups of hundreds, all right? So like here's 3 digits, 3 digits, 3 digits, but there's only 2 because we don't see the 0. The commas are there for a reason. That's how you read through this. Yes, you say millions or billions or thousands, but you put that 100 number in there first. So in this case, 85, I would say 85,026,139. So going all the way through like that, you kind of separate it for each one of your major groupings here. Now, obviously, after billions is trillions, and it keeps going on and on after that, but they're not going to ask you a number like that on the ACT, all right? So let's go ahead and try saying these numbers out loud. You can pause here if you want to try doing it on your own, or you can just go ahead and stay tuned, and I'm going to go through them all. So if we're looking at this first one, it says 100 and then 321. So that's going to be 100,321. Down here, we go into the millions. So this is going to be 40,345,860. Right here, we have 23,561. And at the bottom, we have 1,056,022. All right. Now notice I tried my best to avoid using the word and in there at all, because technically it's proper to not say and in the middle of a number. Now, the only time that changes is when you're dealing with money, you usually use the word and where you're putting in the decimal point. So you would say like $5.32. All right, so try your best to avoid the use of that and. So we're getting in the home stretch here. Stick with me. Next here, we have some questions on place value. So it would ask you to actually name the place value. So like on the chart, how would we say that? Again, I got the answers underneath this guy right here. So go ahead, take your guesses, pause the video, and we'll come right back. All right, so this one, we had already said it was 100,321. So what is this place? It is the hundreds place, all right? Down here, the 4, where is that located? We're all the way out in the millions. This is the 10 in the millions, so this is the 10 millions. Down here, we have the 6, which is not the ones, but the tens, so that's going to be our tens place. And the 5 down here is going to be in our thousands category, but it's the second number, which again makes it our tens, so that's going to be 10,000s. All right, so let's go ahead and make sure we got all of those correct. Looks good. Let's move on to rounding. Now, rounding is one of those things where students mess it up so much. And I just can't understand it. So we're going to go through it step by step, because really this is not a place where you can lose points on the ACT. So let's check our steps here. Number 1, find the place value that you were asked to round to. So this is going to be like, hey, round it to the nearest 10,000s. All right, that's what we just went through. That's why we just did that, so that we know where all those places are, so we don't get caught there. Now, once you find that place value, look at the number directly to the right of that number. All right, that's the number that's going to tell us if we stay the same or go up. Okay, so we gather our number, then we're going to look at the number to the right of it. If that number to the right is 4 or less, then we're going to keep our original number the same. If that number to the right is 5 or more, then that number that we were originally looking at, we're going to add 1 to it to bump it up. That's called rounding up. If it stays the same, we call it rounding down. Even though we don't move it down, it stays the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice this. First one says that we want to round this number, 7,903,251, to the millions place. Now, I kept our rules down here so that if you get stuck, you can look at them. You can try all these on your own by pausing right now, but we're going to go ahead and crush through them and finish this up. So to the millions place. Well, the millions place would be the 7. So if we look to the right of that, it's 9, which means that is larger than 5. So we are going to go up on the 7 by 1. So that means we're going to round this to 8 million. Now, once you move up or keep it the same, you make all the numbers after that a 0. So there's our answer, ready to go. All right. Now, next one we're going to look at is the tens place. Now, the tens place is our 5. So that means looking to the right of that, it's a 1, which is not 5 or higher. So that means that our 5 is going to stay the same. But again, because that's the place we're rounding, everything to the right of it becomes a 0. All right. So when we write that out, we write everything the same, except once we get to that 5, we keep it the same and change that last number to a 0. Next one says the 100,000s place. Now, where's the 100,000s place? That's going to be our 9. All right. And the number to the right of that is a 0. That's definitely lower than a 5, so we're going to keep this number the same. But remember, that means everything after it is going to change to a 0. So when we look at that number, here we go, 7,900,000, and we leave it at that, all right? Last one, the hundreds place. Hundreds place, that's going to just be our 2. So when we're looking at our 2, to the right of that's a 5. 5 is the first number that we're cutting off to go up. So that means we're going to increase this 2 by 1. So that makes it a 3. So that means we're going to have 7,903,300. All right. So there's our answer there. Hope you got all of these answers on your own as well, but that's going to crush through the rounding section of this. And look at that, guys. you did it. Well, thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you learned something, picked something up. And remember, go ahead and click the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. And the reason why is because I'm going to be releasing new lessons every week to go for this ACT prep. Remember, you cannot raise your score by just doing some quick fix 10-minute video, 3-minute video, 2-minute video. You need to make this an ongoing process to raise your score. So you can do that with me. I'm going to be uploading new videos every week to crush through all of the ACT math content. We'll talk about great ways for you to practice as we go, and we will raise your score by the end of this semester. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope that you've gotten something from this. And remember, it's only going to get harder from here because it starts off easy and then it gets tough. So we're going to keep crushing through the content. I'm going to help you every step of the way. So remember, click like, click subscribe, ring the bell, and you can follow me at MrCaproni on YouTube or MrCaproni on Twitter. Thanks for coming today. You guys have a wonderful night.